activity, for this activity, I set a reading task that was taken from the internet. The main purpose of it is to improve students' reading skills through real-life material. The story got the students' attention, and I could realize that they applied different reading strategies promoted by this lesson. When a reading lesson is set, the main purpose is the students to understand what the text was about. In this case, I think this goal was satisfactorily accomplished. I can say that the students got the meaning of the text. The text presented for this lesson was taken from the internet site called VOA, Learning English, or We Are American English. This is a really interesting site where students can find many articles and news. The most interesting thing here is that we can also listen to the text in an accurate and fluent American English. In this class, I also use the classroom equipment, the computer and the projector, as well as a PowerPoint presentation to present the sequence of the activities, and the reading material as well. I must say that all the materials used were really effective. For this class, I used different techniques. The main one was intensive reading. Students were finding meaning from specific words in order to get a better comprehension of the text. I also used the top-down approach at the beginning of the lesson by asking students to make predictions about the text. Also asking what students knew about the subject, in this case Halloween. Skimming and scanning were used when students tried to find specific information as in the activities. About grouping arrangements, this time I used only class work. Asking for individual participation, sometimes the students shared their findings with classmates. It was because the students enjoyed a lot and they found their reading strategies by themselves. I'm afraid this time the class was teacher dominated. It happens when I am running out of time and I need to cover some content. I know I need to work better in order to promote more student-centered lessons. Talking about class interactions, the class was designed for students to work as a whole class. Teachers set the activities and students answered the questions asked. There was a funny here. All the students were totally concentrated in the text. It could get all their attention. At the beginning, they were distracted, but as the lesson ran, it caught them. Problems? No one. The lesson ran as it was planned. I always take my time designing the different activities. This way, there aren't any surprises. When I work, I use the classroom equipment in order to do so. I organize my lessons through PowerPoint presentation. My students are used to it, so this time I work in the same way. But the lesson plan was based on the contents of this subject. When planning a class, I made different decisions based on the purpose of the class. I determined the interaction patterns that better suit my purposes. I also determined the kind of activities needed in order to achieve my goals. Sometimes, when the lesson doesn't work as planned, the teacher should make some changes on the lesson planning in order to make the class better. Fortunately, this time, there wasn't need to do so. The class went great. And the main accomplishment of the lesson was that the students enjoyed the text and that they got the meaning. The most successful part of the lesson was the text selection. It was appropriate to students' level, it was interesting, and it totally got their attention. The least successful one was the speaking part. Students didn't want to discuss the topic. They feel afraid of trying to speak. I feel really comfortable with this activity, so I wouldn't change a thing about it. Sadly, I've never had supervision, so I don't have a reference about my teaching practice. I think it would be a good idea if I invite some other teachers to see me and then to give me some feedback. I would appreciate it if it made me improve at teaching. As teacher, As teacher, I like my students have fun at the time they are learning. I think fun activities could help me to create bonds with them. These bonds will help us to make the teaching and learning process easier and more productive.